Imagine you're flying down the highway at like 70 miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
You're tucked perfectly behind the windscreen of your brand new Absolute Dream sport bike. The inline-4 engine is just screaming beneath you like a Formula One car.
Oh, yeah, the best feeling.
And then suddenly, without a single warning light, without any strange noise, the engine violently locks up.
Terrifying.
Yeah, your rear wheel skids out and you are instantly fighting for your life on the asphalt.
Literally a worst-case scenario.
It really is. Welcome to this custom-tailored Dup Dive. Today we are tearing into the long-term reliability and the really gritty day-to-day ownership realities of the modern Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R.
Specifically, we're looking at the 2024 to 2026 models here.
Right, because the mission today is to figure out if the legend actually matches the reality for you as an owner. The ZX6R is, an absolute titan in the super sport world.
Oh, completely. It's iconic.
But behind that aggressive styling, we're finding this crazy trail of aging technology, some frustrating electronic traps, and a recent catastrophic engine recall that's leaving brand new bikes just paralyzed in garages.
Yeah, and we've assembled a massive stack of sources to uncover what's really going on beneath the fairings here.
Yep.
We are pulling from official NHTSA safety recall data, technical research reports, and, mechanical breakdowns from trusted YouTube mechanics.
And some very sobering real-world repair logs from owners on Reddit and Facebook forums, too.
Exactly. And to truly understand what it means to own this machine, we have to look past the spec sheet.
Right. You got to sit on the thing.
Yeah. We have to start with the immediate physical experience. The geometry of the ZX6R is unapologetically track-focused.
Highly demanding.
Very. We're talking about an incredibly demanding rider triangle. The clip-ons are mounted extremely low relative to the seat height.
And the rear sets push your feet really high up and back.
Right. Which is brilliant when you're doing like 130 miles per hour down a straightaway because the wind resistance hits your chest and literally holds your torso up.
It takes all that pressure off your wrists and lower back.
Exactly. But, most of you listening aren't living at a racetrack. You're riding down Main Street, filtering through traffic, doing the Monday morning commute.
And in slow-moving city traffic, there is zero wind support.
None. You are essentially doing a rolling plank.
A rolling plank, exactly. I was reading through the forums, and owners are constantly talking about needing core workouts just to survive a 40-minute ride.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're spending a fortune on aftermarket ergonomic adjustments that barely even make a dent in the discomfort.
And you're fighting the bike's geometry every single time you brake for a red light, too.
Yeah.
The interaction between the tank shape on these newer models and the rider's knees under heavy braking it means if you don't have aftermarket tank grips, you are sliding forward.
Just constantly jamming your wrists right into the bars.
Constantly. Yeah. And you aren't just fighting the physical layout of the bike, you are fighting the engine character itself.
Right, because the spec sheet boasts 129 horsepower. But when you roll off a stop sign, the bike feels surprisingly sluggish.
Yeah, that's just the nature of a high-strung 600cc inline-4. You don't tap into that serious arm-stretching power until you cross into a stratospheric 13,000 RPM.
It's crazy high.
Below 8,000 RPM, the torque curve is virtually flat.
Okay, let's unpack this, because trying to commute on a bike with no low-end torque and this aggressive riding position, it's like trying to walk a racing greyhound through a crowded shopping mall.
That is the perfect analogy.
Right, it just wants to run. It is built to sprint, and it's absolutely miserable doing anything else.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look at the engineering trade-offs Kawasaki was forced to make.
Like what?
Well, to extract massive top-end horsepower from a relatively small 636cc displacement, engineers have to optimize the engine's breathing for extremely high speed.
Boy.
That means utilizing aggressive camshaft profiles with significant valve overlap. Yeah. But the physics of internal combustion dictate that what breathes perfectly at 13,000 RPM is going to be wildly inefficient at 4,000 RPM.
So they deliberately sacrificed low-speed drivability.
Yes, they sacrifice street comfort for top-end track performance.
So because the bike has virtually zero low-end torque, you can't just leave it in third gear and casually cruise through the city.
Nope. Navigating traffic requires you to constantly, repeatedly change gears just to keep the revs high enough so the engine doesn't bog down.
And all that mandatory shifting shines a massive, glaring spotlight on the ZX6R's aging technological platform.
It really does.
Yeah.
The contrast here with modern competitors is stark. When you look at something like the 2026 Yamaha R9, you expect a high level of electronic refinement.
Right.
The ZX6R, however, completely lacks a ride-by-wire throttle system. It still relies on traditional physical steel cables connecting your wrist directly to the throttle bodies.
But, let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
In an era where every single vehicle feels like an overly sanitized rolling smartphone with 50 different rider aids, isn't a physical mechanical throttle cable actually a massive selling point?
For some.
Like for the purists listening who want that raw, unfiltered analog connection to the machine.
Oh, the analog feel absolutely has its devotees. Feeling the mechanical tension of the cable snapping back is deeply satisfying.
Right.
But the downstream consequence of that mechanical system is where the daily fatigue really sets in for commuters.
Because of the electronics.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because the engine control unit cannot electronically actuate the throttle plates on its own, the bike fundamentally cannot support an auto-blip, clutchless downshift system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the Kawasaki quickshifter on this bike is strictly an upshift-only system.
So when you're accelerating, you can just pin the throttle and click up through the gears effortlessly.
Yeah.
But every single time you slow down for traffic, you have to manually pull the heavy clutch lever and blip the throttle yourself to rev match.
Every single time. And when you combine an engine that demands constant shifting with a heavy clutch in an hour of stop-and-go traffic, the romance of that analog connection fades pretty quickly.
It becomes a total chore.
It really does. Furthermore, because of this older, non-integrated electronic architecture, the bike is also missing a modern six-axis inertial measurement unit, or IMU.
Oh, right. It relies on a much more basic ABS system.
Exactly.
Can we break down the difference there for a second? Why is a six-axis IMU such a big deal compared to traditional ABS on a Super Sport?
Okay, think about a scenario where you are mid-corner, leaned all the way over, right?
Okay.
And suddenly a car pulls out or you hit a wet patch and you instinctively grab a handful of front brake. A basic ABS system only monitors wheel speed.
So it doesn't know you're leaning.
Right. If it senses the wheel locking up, it pulses the brakes.
Right.
But because you are leaned over, grabbing that brake abruptly shifts the suspension, overloads the front tire's small contact patch, and often washes the front end out anyway.
So you still crash.
You still crash. A six-axis IMU, however, is a sophisticated gyroscope that constantly calculates the motorcycle's lean angle, pitch, roll, yaw, and acceleration.
Like hundreds of times a second.
Exactly. If you grab the brake mid-corner with an IMU-equipped bike, the computer instantly calculates your lean angle and intervenes to modulate the brake pressure perfectly.
Wow, so it actually prevents the suspension from getting unsettled.
Yes, it allows you to safely bleed off speed and keeps the bike on its intended line.
And the ZX6R lacks this cornering intelligence.
Entirely.
That is a massive safety net to be missing on a 130 horsepower machine.
It really is.
But, okay, let's say you're that hardcore purist. You accept the punishing ergonomics, you make peace with manual downshifts, and you trust your own wrist more than an IMU.
Fair enough.
Your immediate next step is inevitably going to be modifying the bike to uncork the true sound of that inline-4 engine, right? You want that screaming wail.
No, it's practically a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Because fresh off the showroom floor, the ZX6R is surprisingly muted.
Yeah, I've heard that.
This is largely due to the massive pre-chamber resonator, which the community lovingly refers to as the bread box. It sits directly underneath the bike.
I was looking at the forums, and owners are just obsessed with ripping this thing off and throwing on aftermarket systems. How much dead weight are we actually talking about with that factory setup?
A staggering amount, honestly. Yeah. If you install a highly popular full replacement system, like the Yoshimura AT2 3/4 exhaust with the link pipe that deletes the bread box, you are dropping the exhaust weight from 16.1 pounds down to an incredible 5.3 pounds.
Whoa, that's nearly an 11-pound reduction in unsprung mass.
Exactly, which makes the bike flick side to side noticeably faster.
But the forums are absolutely flooded with riders complaining that doing this simple exhaust swap instantly throws their bike into total chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Like you rip out the bread box to get the sound and the weight savings, and you step right into what they call the servo trap.
Right. And the servo trap is a direct result of how manufacturers pass modern noise regulations. The stock exhaust contains a butterfly valve, controlled by an electronic exhaust servo motor.
Okay.
Governments don't just measure total volume, they conduct drive-by noise testing at very specific speeds and RPM ranges.
Ah, so they game the test.
Pretty much. The manufacturer programs that butterfly valve to snap shut during those specific testing ranges to muffle the bike and pass the test, and then open back up for performance. It's essentially an engineering cheat code.
So when an owner unbolts the factory exhaust and removes that valve, what happens?
The bike's computer, the ECU, is constantly monitoring that servo motor. If you disconnect it without installing a bypass module, like a Servo Buddy, or without getting a custom ECU flash to rewrite the software, the computer panics
It instantly throws a check engine light.
immediately. And the modern ECU is highly protective. Forum logs show this specific error code frequently forces the bike into a limp mode.
Wait, really? It cuts power.
Yes, drastically cutting engine power to protect itself from what it perceives as a critical mechanical failure.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because dealing with a check engine light and a computer-induced power loss from an exhaust swap is incredibly annoying,
Very.
but it completely pales in comparison to the engine actually tearing itself apart from the inside while you are riding.
Right. This brings us to the dark cloud currently hanging over this motorcycle. We have to dive into NHTSA campaign number 25V376.
And this is not a minor software glitch.
No, this is a massive, catastrophic engine recall.
Break down the mechanics of this failure for us. What exactly went wrong at the factory?
It comes down to assembly line precision. During manufacturing, the specific bolts that hold the crankshaft halves together inside the crankcase were over-torqued.
Okay, so they were tightened too much.
Right. In high-performance engine building, tolerances are measured in fractions of a millimeter. When you tighten bolts too hard, you compress the metal and distort those tolerances.
So you're saying they basically crushed the gaps the engine needs to function.
Yes. Specifically, the over-torquing destroyed the proper oil clearance for the metal crankshaft bushings, the number 5 and number 1 bearings.
Beats.
Yeah, in a healthy engine, the rapidly spinning crankshaft essentially floats on a microscopic pressurized film of oil. But because these bolts were cranked down too hard, that vital gap vanished.
Wow. I want you, the listener, to visualize this. Imagine trying to spin a metal pipe as fast as you can while someone is aggressively squeezing it with a heavy vice grip.
That's exactly what it's like.
The protective oil gets pushed out entirely, and you are left with dry, metal-on-metal friction spinning at 13,000 RPM.
The resulting heat and friction are immense. Within a very short operating window, the metal fuses together and the bushing seizes entirely.
And the fallout here is sweeping, isn't it?
Very. Kawasaki has confirmed that over 20,301 units from the 2024 and 2025 model years are affected.
That's a huge chunk of bikes.
Yep. And this includes the highly sought-after 40th anniversary editions and the KRT editions.
We really need to stress the reality of this failure for the rider, because it's not like running out of gas where the bike sputters and you coast to the shoulder.
Oh, no, not at all.
When a crankshaft bushing seizes, the internal rotation stops instantly. You experience rapid, violent deceleration.
And because the engine is directly mechanically linked to the rear wheel via the chain, that causes an immediate rear wheel lockup at whatever speed you happen to be traveling.
Which is terrifying. The risk of a high-speed catastrophic crash is so severe that Kawasaki issued a nationwide stop sale to all dealerships.
Furthermore, they issued a strict do-not-ride warning to current owners.
So from a legal and safety standpoint, if you just bought this motorcycle, it's now a garage ornament until a permanent fix is implemented.
Exactly. The emotional and financial toll on owners right now is staggering.
I want to highlight a highly detailed account we pulled from the Reddit r Kawasaki forum. It is an absolute masterclass in ownership frustration.
Yeah, this story is wild.
This rider bought a brand new 2024 ZX6R, and by December, while they were riding, the engine completely seized and exploded.
And crucially, this incident occurred before Kawasaki officially announced the recall to the public.
Right. The local dealership had no idea there was a widespread systemic factory defect.
None. So the rider's bike just sat at Chaparral Motorsports for 4 agonizing months.
Think about that. You lose a third of a year of your prime riding season.
It's brutal, and the dealership finally manages to build them a completely new engine from the ground up.
Which introduces another layer of misery, the engine break-in period.
Oh, yeah.
A rider who just spent months waiting for repairs doesn't get to hop on and carve canyons. They have to endure a strict 600-mile break-in period.
It means babying a high-performance sport bike, keeping the engine artificially restricted below 4,000 RPM.
Painstakingly monitoring for metal shavings in the oil.
Yeah, and going through early, expensive oil changes before the engine is actually safe to push.
It is torture. So the rider finally gets the rebuilt bike back in May. They slog through the break-in period, and they are finally ready to enjoy the summer.
And then what happens?
The very next month, Kawasaki drops the official nationwide do not ride recall for the exact issue that blew up their original engine.
The psychological whiplash is immense.
Yeah.
You endure a terrifying high-speed failure, wait months for a rebuild, and then you're told your model is fundamentally compromised by a massive recall.
And the aftermath is incredibly murky. According to the owner's logs, when they finally pursued a lemon law settlement to just get their money back, they ran into a total wall of corporate defense.
Yeah.
Kawasaki allegedly tried to slip a non-disclosure clause into the final settlement paperwork, attempting to force the owner to sign away their right to talk publicly about the engine explosion.
A lemon law process is rarely a clean transaction. It's a grueling, often legally combative war of attrition.
Oh, definitely.
You're dealing with arbitration, endless dealership diagnostic visits, and corporate lawyers whose entire job is to minimize brand damage.
So when a manufacturer pushes an NDA in exchange for a refund, it just shatters consumer trust.
It does. It's exactly why this owner took to Reddit with all their receipts, labor invoices, and service logs to warn the wider community.
But stepping back, I just have to ask how this even happens. Like, Kawasaki is a century-old, legendary Japanese manufacturer.
Right.
They built an empire on bulletproof, unkillable reliability. How does a company with that pedigree make an error as amateurish as over-torquing crankcase bolts on their flagship middleweight motorcycle?
Well, what's fascinating here is that this is rarely just a single worker on an assembly line pulling a wrench too hard. We have to look at the massive external pressures crushing the motorcycle industry right now.
You mean emissions?
Yeah, specifically the push to meet stringent Euro 5+ emission standards. It's radically altering how these bikes are built.
Because Euro 5 Plus isn't just about what comes out of the tailpipe, is it?
Far from it. Euro 5+ requires highly advanced onboard diagnostic monitoring. The engine's computer has to constantly ensure emissions stay perfectly within tight thresholds over the entire lifespan of the bike.
Wow.
So, to achieve this cleaner burn without completely redesigning the engine from the ground up, which costs hundreds of millions of dollars, engineers are tweaking and modifying an older engine architecture.
They're patching it.
Exactly. They're dealing with incredibly strict tolerances, complex new catalytic converters, and hypervigilant sensors.
All while trying to rush these units out to a 600cc supersport market that is, let's be honest, rapidly shrinking.
Precisely that. When you combine the immense regulatory pressure of Euro 5+ treading, the financial pressure of maintaining profitability on an aging mechanical platform, and the logistical pressure of rushing production to meet seasonal demand.
It's a perfect storm.
It is. That is the exact environment where devastating quality control oversights occur on the assembly line. The over-torqued bolts are a symptom of a manufacturing system stretched to its absolute limit.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, if the ZX6R is sitting on your dream board? It means you have to confront a deeply complex, highly compromised reality.
It requires entering the showroom with your eyes wide open, stripped of all the romanticism.
On one hand, the ZX6R remains a breathtaking piece of machinery. If you navigate the servo traps, delete that breadbox, and get the ECU tuned, it will scream through a canyon with absolute surgical precision.
Oh, without a doubt.
But ownership means actively choosing to endure painful, demanding ergonomics that will make your daily commute a physical trial.
It means accepting a total lack of low-end torque.
Right, and it means dealing with the constant fatigue of missing modern auto-blip downshift technology in city traffic.
And most heavily, it means carrying the psychological burden of a massive, dangerous engine recall.
Yeah.
It means staring at a brand new motorcycle in your garage and wondering if the internal clearances are compromised, or if the dealership's eventual fix is actually going to hold up to the stresses of a 13,000 RPM redline.
It is a massive price to pay for a dream that might just lock up on you at highway speeds.
It truly is. And this raises an important question for the future of the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Consider the landscape right now. The legendary 600cc supersports we grew up lusting after, like the Yamaha R6, the Suzuki GSX-R 600, they've already been discontinued for global street use.
Because the manufacturers simply couldn't make them pass those strict emission standards profitably.
Exactly. Kawasaki was basically the last major Japanese brand keeping the inline four-street dream alive.
They were holding the torch.
They were. But now, with Kawasaki facing a massive, humiliating stop sale over a catastrophic engine failure on an aging mechanical platform, could this recall be the final nail in the coffin?
Wow.
Will the staggering financial and reputational cost of rebuilding 20,000 engines finally convince Kawasaki to walk away? We have to wonder if this disaster officially kills off the traditional Japanese 600cc inline-four supersport class forever.
That is a chilling thought for anyone who loves the sound of a high-revving engine. The next time you see one of these machines standing still looking like a street-legal missile, you really have to ask yourself, is it a masterpiece of raw engineering or is it a ticking time bomb? Thank you for riding shotgun with us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, do your research, and ride safe.